What's going on, everybody? We're back. Episode number 201. Oh, wow. I put 211. I'm going to have to edit that. Episode number 201 of the Club and Sub Podcast. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we're brought to you guys by FightNumbers.com. For 30% off your first month subscription to Fight Numbers, use the promo code CLUB, CLUB. As I say every week, they got great bets from Pepe and Ozzy. They got great DFS projections from John Kelly. They got the live odds screen, which will give you both foreign and domestic books, live odds in real time. And they've also got the trends tool. It's a great tool. It'll help you win money. It'll help you win in DFS, certainly. Check it out, fightnumbers.com, promo code CLUB. And if you like the show, drop a like, subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Help us out. Moving on to, 5 years doing this, maybe 6 starting next year. So
we're going to keep the train rolling. Hopefully next year obviously brings more fortune than this year. This year was definitely an interesting one.
But yeah, we can talk about last card though, because I had some fortune on last card. It was actually pretty good for me. I was up 4.96 units. I had the only 2 losses I had the John Jones goes the distance for half a unit at plus 310. I also had the over for a unit at plus 108. I don't think that was a particularly great bet though. I felt like John was hurting him to the body almost from minute 1, and obviously he got on top and just fucking mashed. So I felt fortunate to cash the over, but happy to do it. I had a unit and a half on Ramiz plus 125. I took that right before post. Went kind of, I shouldn't say how I expected, but I mentioned last week, I felt like Ramiz had more finishing upside on the feet, more finishing upside on the mat, and they were both pretty gassy. So it seemed kind of cut and dry to me. I had 2 units, Jonathan Martinez plus 120, did not work out. I wish Jonathan Martinez had insisted on, using offensive weapons prior to the 3rd round of that fight. But sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. And then I had 2 units on Viviane Araújo, plus 225. And the fight went, thank you, sir. Right about how I thought it was going to go. Kind of messy, more finishing and danger from Karine. But I felt like Vivi had a little bit more top time upside, a little bit more cardio upside. So, yeah, good card for me. How'd you do?
Yeah, speaking on that fight, that was pretty much what killed the parlay that I had. And it didn't even really matter because the second leg of the parlay was the under 2.5 rounds in the Oliveira fight, which was fucking insane. That went 5, to be honest. But yeah, I had Karine Silva as the first leg. So both ended up going down. So I had 1.06 unit loss on the card.
I'll be honest, I did not recatch the full Oliveira fight till the next day because my wife and I went to brunch that day. We were drinking till about 6 o'clock. Got home. I was like, she went down to bed at 8, and I was like, and we'd been watching it, and I was like, I'll just bring my laptop into bed. And right about by the Vivi Karine fight, I was kind of doing trying to stay awake and see who won. Like I texted Gomez, I'm like, who won that fight? Like I don't even know. And by the Chandler Oliveira fight, I fell asleep. I woke up my laptop on my bed, so I caught up with the next day. But yeah, decent night. We got. Speaking of this card, usually I say it's breakfast cocktail season on the cards like this, but I'll tell you this. I won't be up at 3 a.m. to watch the first couple fights on this card. I can guarantee you that. I am planning to set my alarm for 5 a.m. to see if I can, a little bit more reasonable time to get up since my kids will be in my room at 6:30 anyway. So, I mean, are you planning to get up early? Like, what are your thoughts?
So the only thing is, I'm going to a wedding on Saturday. So kind of a big issue there. It's like, do I wake up the girlfriend for the fights at 5 a.m.? She'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd imagine, like, I don't know, like, what time you have to be at the wedding, but I usually do the whole thing. Like, my wife's going to get her hair done, and I just lay down in the hotel room and usually go to sleep for about 2.5 hours,
That's true. She's probably going to be doing that most of the morning, but I think we got to be there around noon, so.
Oh, yeah, so early one. Yeah, that's
So we will be up. I guess we will be up early, but yeah, maybe not that early, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's not a great card, honestly. I have some bets. I'll get up
early. It's one of the cards of the year, John.
Yeah. It does have a great first fight, though. We'll start there. We got Mahate taking on Nicholas Moda. Current price. Wow, that's UFC Fight Pass, not FightOdds.io. Let me just pull the odds screen up here. Mahate minus 190. Comeback Moda plus 165. I've been kind of considering a bet on Moda. I keep going back and forth here because it's not the strongest conviction. I was hoping maybe the market would tell me, what it's going to do and if my read on the fight is right. I think they're both glass cannons personally. I think Moda, Moda's a bit more technical. I think a bit sharper on the counter, and I think hits a bit harder. But he's also a lot more glass, in my opinion, than Mahate is. And he's a lot shorter and giving up a lot of reach. So, plus Mahate's from this part of the world. Moda is traveling across the world for this fight, which doesn't seem ideal to me. Yeah, I don't know. I think Moda is the better fighter in the aggregate, but I also feel like he's more fragile. Again, the travel issue, and Mahate's 24. You'd expect him to be getting better. So I think Moda's probably the side at the line. I haven't decided if I'm going to play it or not. What do you think?
I'm passing it, but I'm kind of have the same thoughts as you too. Like, to me, Mahate longer, taller, probably more durability as well. Like, I think him as a slight to moderate favorite makes sense. I mean, I get, people aren't, I'm not advocating for a Mahate like minus 180, minus 190, but it's tough to trust in durability of Moda, really, I guess. That's where I really come down to.
Yeah, fair. Lags, you're also getting a bit of static coming through your mic at the moment.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. I'll just start off the next fight too. Long Xiao taking on Quang Lei. Both of these guys technically making their second fight in the UFC. Current price minus 137 Long Xiao. Comeback on Quang Lei plus 117. I don't know. I guess I lean the long side here. I do think Quang Lei. I think on the one hand, this price is probably reflecting the market's perception of Lei's performance against Chris Gutierrez. But I am not. I mean, Chris Gutierrez, at the end of the day, is a terrible grappler. We've seen that over and over again. So, I don't put a ton of stock into that fight. And I feel like in the context of this fight, Long Xiao is the better grappler here. Certainly the better scrambler, if not the better wrestler. I trust his work rate a bit more. What concerns me, especially at the price, is just I do think Quang Lei hits harder. And I don't think, even though I do think Long Xiao's got the better work rate and probably the better cardio and is probably the better grappler, I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to hold him down for 10 minutes. I think those power shots could play a role in this fight. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not that interested in it. I lean Xiao to win the fight. I understand why people would bet him, but I don't like betting a power disadvantage, a big power disadvantage, when one guy has, no real upside to really control them on the mat for that long. What do you think?
Again, another fight that we pretty much see completely aligned. I think Long Xiao as a slight favorite makes sense. I think, again, can push a higher pace, has the better cardio of the two on the feet. I think he's even the busier guy, but he's at, like you mentioned, I think he is at a power disadvantage. I don't think he's going to be able to hold him down on the mat. I think it's probably a close fight that goes the distance. If Xiao doesn't get hurt, that is. So I think minus 170 for GTD is kind of interesting. A bit chalky, but I think it's an interesting route. I don't think Xiao has a ton of finishing upside himself.
Yeah, I agree. And you're still getting some static. You might want to check what your audio is on right now. Is it your mic or your AirPods? If it is your mic, maybe just switch to the AirPods. But
maybe I'll just jump out and come back in.
Yeah, that's about works too. That works too. I'll whisper sweet nothings to the chat right now. Yeah. Chad's saying I'll be ready with the adult beverages at 3 a.m. I don't know if I'll be ready that early with them, but I am planning on making a mimosa. I mean, it is an early morning card, 5 a.m. mimosa. Take the edge off before I have to deal with the gremlins at 6:37. Good parenting, I think. But yeah, we'll move on here. Next fight of the night, Kavanagh taking on Jose Ochoa. All I have seen this week are people telling me that Jose Ochoa is the side. The current price on Kavanagh, minus 365. Comeback on Ochoa, plus 290. I don't know. I don't feel... Josh and Chad are gremlins. They are not the gremlins. I don't know. I don't feel like... I understand the view here that this price is wide. Ochoa is aggressive. He seems powerful. Seems athletic. Okay, submission grappler. But, when I'm looking at this fight, I don't know. I feel like, obviously, Angho was a much tougher fight for Kavanagh than Jose Ochoa is, in my opinion anyway. But you can make the argument it's wide. I just feel like Ochoa is a guy, he's fought literally nobody in the UFC to this point in his career that's worth a damn. He's taken a huge, or not in the UFC, in general. Like the guy's been fighting on like the Peruvian regionals. He's taken a giant step up in competition here. I like his offense. I like how much intent he throws with, but I do think he is remarkably open to getting cracked. And I think he's fighting. I shouldn't even say I think. He is fighting a guy for the first time in his career with commensurate or more speed than he has, who actually can counter sharply and on a dime. And yeah, I mean, I think he's going to get cracked a ton in this fight. I don't think he's got a ton of grappling upside here. Do I think he can hurt and finish Kavanagh? Yeah. I mean, Kavanagh's been hurt before. So that in and of itself probably means the line is wide. I'm just not really dying to bet on this Ochoa fella just because he's from Shootbox and has looked good against, I don't know, like my neighbor, you know, like there's just nothing about it that makes me say, okay, yeah, the price seems wide, but I'm going to bet him against a step up in competition. And to couple that, I think Kavanagh is quite a decent prospect. So I do think Loner is going to have like a decent future in the UFC. I'm not sure what Lags is doing right now. He is black.
Can you see me?
I can't see you. Your screen is black, but I can hear you a lot better. I can tell you that.
Well, maybe I was gonna say maybe we'll just go just no cam on this one.
I'm the guy who usually has technical difficulties.
I know.
Like, what is going on?
And that's the thing. I don't know. I was just trying to close out the app and close everything out and figured maybe that would do something, but I guess not.
Well, I'll tell you what. Whisper me a sonnet about Jose Ochoa and Loner Kavanagh here.
I don't see this as much of a public dog, to be honest. I feel like I should say I don't see the love for the public dog that everybody else does. Like, to me, I think Kavanagh is the rightful chalk side favorite. I think he does on the feet. I think he's much more powerful. I think he does have a ton of grappling upside in the matchup. I think it's like you mentioned. I think it is a huge step up in competition. I think Kavanagh, I'm not advocating, I guess, to lay him in a parlay by any means, but I think the chalk is fine. I think it's warranted.
I'll be honest, like, we have good friends that are on the Ochoa side. I think most of our friends are. And like, I was hoping some of that, because like it's reasonably sharp money, would push the price down. I could bet Kavanagh like sub minus 250, but it just hasn't budged. The price has been basically neutral all week. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
I do think an underlook is interesting. It's like minus 120.
Yeah, I fucking hate betting flyweight unders, you know. There just feels like there's so much that can go wrong with them.
Or even what is Loner by sub though? That would be an interesting look, I think. Yeah, 8-1.
That is more interesting to me, honestly.
Yeah,
I do think
a huge
guy's grappling is bigly sus. To be honest with you, so we'll see.
Late sub would be big too. Yep.
And like he's gonna shoot on Loner a lot. I would, or maybe not a lot, but I would expect him to shoot a couple times, especially if he gets dinged. So,
or if not, I expect Loner to initiate the wrestling too.
So, speaking of interesting lines, I am curious whether or not you got on the dog price here, and I'll throw it to you first. We got Carlos Hernandez taking on, not doing the first name, Tumen Demberel. Current price on Hernandez, minus 183. The comeback on Tumen Demberel, plus 158. You have a pick here?
So, I did not get the early price on Hernandez, but to me, I think, again, Hernandez is the warranted chalk side favorite. Like, Tumen Demberel is not a good offensive striker. Like, he has some power, and in terms of the grappling, I mean, again, the guy can be opportunistic offensively, but he's a very, very poor defensive grappler. He can be held down on the mat. I think Hernandez can shoot takedowns here pretty much at will, keep him on the mat, potentially even finish him on the mat. I think he's probably got the better cardio of the two. I mean, it's a huge step up in competition. I think Hernandez minus 180, minus 190 to me is fine.
Paul saying any merit to Hernandez late props at 10-1, 16-1.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, I like those.
I do. Dude, this guy, Tumen Demberel, is a fucking.
What's late sub to is the real question.
That is more interesting to me because I mean, Hernandez literally couldn't hurt my mother, who's 70 years old, but like he is a pretty good grappler, honestly. And that was like one of like the biggest things from tape. Like I'm watching this dude, Tumen Demberel, and I'm like, okay, I mean, he's basically target cannon fodder on the feet. Surely he's got, you know, good grappling. And it turns out his grappling is awful and his cardio is awful. Like I missed, unlike our boy Pierce Hager, I do not have thousands of dollars on Hernandez at an average of like plus 300, but I do have Hernandez at like minus 138, and like I felt pretty good about it. Like it's funny because it opened like as wide as it did obviously got bet down fairly quickly. But I feel good about the minus 138. There's not much for me to say. I don't think Demberel is even remotely close to a UFC level fighter. Carlos Hernandez, what's that kid's name? Ray Saruya. He just fought him last fight. Saruya, I mean, I don't know if he's ever going to be champion, but he's a very talented fighter and a very talented wrestler. And Hernandez held his own there. I can't see Demberel having much grappling success. Maybe he can rock him on the feet, but I think he's the better boxer. I think he's got better footwork. I think he's the better grappler. I think he's got way better cardio, and the level of competition isn't close. I feel like this should be Carlos Hernandez all day. I'm on him at minus 138. I don't know. I mean, would you advocate playing in the current line? I don't know.
So here's the thing with the current line. I was kind of hoping there would be some buyback. Just people thinking, oh, minus 180, minus 190 Hernandez. Like, how's he covering that? But then when you actually go into the tape, it's like, oh, he can probably cover this and probably with ease, to be honest. So, I mean, I was hoping for like minus 170 if it gets down to there. Otherwise, I'm probably looking to stay up. It's minus 185.
I would probably add at minus 170. I was chatting with somebody last week who was like, yeah, the MMA market's not as efficient as like football or basketball. He's like, but if you feel passionately about a side and the market agrees with you, like that's as much confirmation as you need that you should be on it pretty big. So I have him for like to win 2 units at minus 138. I think if it got, I think it's pretty good. I wouldn't mind like adding to it. So yeah. I mean, we'll see. And now we move into the daily. See, this is the part that sucks, Lags, because I'm probably not going to get up to about 5. And that means I'm going to miss. Now, these 4 fights.
You're going to miss the good shit. You're going to miss the good shit.
They're pretty good fights. Like, honestly, like, objectively, they're going to be fun fights, the first 4 fights of this card.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to wake up to Zhao Fang versus Mingshi. Like, that's what I'm going to walk into when I get up in the morning on Saturday.
Right, and I'm going to wake up my girlfriend at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she's going to say, "Why are you watching these 2 Chinese women at 5 in the morning? Why did you wake me up?" You
want to see a midget get assaulted? Like that? Right, that's going to be the question. Yeah. So the price is Fang minus 410. The comeback on Xi is plus 310. I don't know. I don't have much interest. I don't have much to say. I mean, Fang's way bigger than she is. Yeah, I mean, if she can get her down, she can have some success here. I just, as I don't know if it'll be a theme on this card, but like, we've talked about it over the years. Most of outside of guys like Saruya and a select few, thus far, most of the grapplers from Asian descent just don't have the level of grappling that we're accustomed to seeing in the UFC. That's not to say anything bad about them. It's just like the Western world is a lot better at wrestling than the Eastern world is. So, I mean, could she get 2 or 3 takedowns and win the fight? Sure, I guess. I think she's going to have a hard time with it, though, and I think the difference in size and physicality for Fang is just massive here. I don't know if I think she'll finish her, but she probably won't. But I do think it could be worth a look. I mean, honestly, like the under is plus 300, and I mean, she's way bigger than this woman. And the one thing I'll say is like these kind of fights, like these road fights, they're getting priced like it's a UFC women's fight with 2 women who deserve to be in the UFC, when the reality is it's not. Let's call it what it is. And like, are you going to be shocked if Fang just like assaults this woman? Like,
No, that's the thing. No, John, I'm not kidding here. I was just looking at the props and I was like, how is Fang by KO plus 450? Like, what are we doing here? What I'm gonna be honest. If I had any interest in the fight, and I do, and that's probably the only interest I'm gonna have in the fight, is a small half-unit shot, her by KO. I mean, that's a big number, and I think on domestics we're gonna get 550 6-1.
Right. This isn't like Eduarda Mora against Veronica Hardy, like 2 fairly athletic women who belong here. It's a giant taking on a very small fighter who is fairly harmless. So I'm with you. I kind of don't hate the fight to finish, to be honest. What do you think on the fight as a whole?
So the fight as a whole, I mean, you touched on it a little bit with Fang. I mean, on the feet, much taller, longer, much more damaging of the fighters in this matchup. The tough thing is though, like I would never want to lay minus 400 here because her defensive grappling is just so poor. Like she loves playing off her back and just hunting those subs. So, I mean, I think obviously easy work on the feet should knock her out. The plus 450. Great spot again, like Glenn just said, under 2.5. I like it.
Should, but yeah, like that's what I'm saying.
Right. Like it's being priced like it's not. It doesn't have a great opportunity where it's like it probably should be like maybe 250. even shorter, maybe. I don't
No,
know.
that's the thing. It's like we look at these women all the time who have like 5 out of 6 fights or ended by KO regionally who come to the UFC and don't knock anybody out. Because if you're in the UFC, the odds are you have a reasonable amount of durability and are reasonably skilled, and most women don't hit that hard. But this is I know it's happening in the UFC. This is a regional fight, like that's what it
most
is.
of these fights are. No, most of these
for
fights
sure.
are. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm with you 100%. Moving on, this is actually an okay fight here. We got Kiru Sahota. He's taking on Dong-Hoon Choy, or it could be an okay fight. Current price, it's Pick'em, -110 aside. You have an opinion here?
No, I think Pick'em's probably appropriate to me. Like, I think Sahota a bit better on the feet, and in terms of the grappling, again, I think he's a slightly better grappler of the two. Like, I think it's likely just a close fight that goes the distance. Where if it does go the distance, I favor Sahota quite a bit. Like, I think Choy is very finish reliant.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's funny because Sahota was the first one I taped, and I was like, there is basically no way I'm not betting Choy. And then I taped Choy, and I'm not betting Choy.
It's low level. I mean,
like to your point, like Sahota, he's very tall and he's very long for the weight class, and he throws a shitload of volume, which I mean I love. That's a way to win fights, but he is fucking horrible in my opinion. Like don't get me wrong,
man. Yeah.
Like he could win fights off volume in the UFC, I suppose. But if you crush distance on this guy and get inside, like there is just no defense to be had in there. Very, very easy to crack. I don't think he's particularly durable. He's a noodle. Like this guy's wrestling, I'm telling you. Like I'm hoping he fucking owns Choy. And we get just like an average or below average wrestler in the UFC against him at like a reasonable price. The guy's got no hips. He's bad on bottom. But Choy, the thing is, the volume and the size, that goes a long way. He's a really tough fighter. And Choy, I don't think Choy's not tough, but he is a doer of nothing, He's not going to pressure aggressively and force his way into the pocket and look to land power shots. He doesn't really wrestle proactively. I mean, the best thing I can say about him is he's got okay power and he has pretty good durability. And that could be enough here. Like I think Sahota is so defensively void and so hurtable that if Choy just like does a little bit more than like what his tape suggests, the fight's there to win for him. I just don't trust him to do it. And it's a flyweight fight at the end of the day. I'm not relying on a flyweight KO. I feel like, more often than not, Sahota is probably just going to outvolume him to a decision, which would be an argument for betting Sahota. But I don't know about you, Lags. Like I've struggled with these road fights in the past, and it's like it's very, very hard for me, especially because like the level of like the dichotomy of the competition that they're all fighting, it's very, very wide because they're all coming from different like Asian promotions, and it's hard to like project levels of regression or progression based on matchups. So I haven't had the eye for them in general, which is why I'm not really playing Sahota here. I don't know if you've had the same experience, but
I mean, I agree with you with most of the card in general. Like, I mean, that's kind of how I feel. Like with some of these fighters, just the level of competition is just so hard to judge how good they actually are and what their skills actually are. I mean, like for instance, even Fang Xiao can, like, yeah, her striking looks great, but then in some fights, I mean, her grappling looks absolutely awful against girls that aren't that talented, in my opinion. Yeah. So I mean, it's super interesting to see. So I mean, even like going way back, I had who was the guy that fought Angel Juli? Absolutely awful.
Sergey.
Yes, like I had Sergey against him at Pick'em and thinking that was again a good spot. Bigger hitter of the two, probably isn't going to have too many tricks in the grappling, and it's like I look like a moron. And that's I think a lot of people can in some of these fights because they have strong opinions. Like even the Long Xiao fight, second fight of the card, people want to make a big stance on that. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and like Juli fucking sucks. Like that's a great example. And he looked like an animal in that fight.
Mike Breeden, though. Shout out Mike Breeden.
We'll always have Mike Breeden.
We will always have Mike Breeden.
Moving on, we got Su Young Yu. He's taking on Baojin Genesuli. I'm just gonna call him Baojin. Just a little easier on the
call him BJ.
Yeah. Current price, Yu -163. Come back on Genesuli or Baojin +143. Not a lot to say here. They're both kind of grappling based. I don't want to say I lean it semi-strong. I don't lean it strong, but I do think the price is justified. I think Yu's the better wrestler. I think he's got better control, and I think he's the better scrambler. And even when it comes to striking, I just think, well, Fight Odds is telling me his name is Bear Gang, and Topology is telling me it's Baljan. And I'm sure both of those pronunciations are incorrect. Do you know what the correct pronunciation?
Let me see if I can.
Never mind. Let's just move. Anyway, I feel like Genizuli is just like not good. Like he's out grappled like some poor Eastern fighters who can't grapple, and I think Yu is a decent grappler, and so yeah. I mean, I think the price is justified. I think it could maybe even be a bit wider. To the point that I made last fight, though, I don't really feel comfortable, projecting out how guys are going to do against guys who have fought similar, better, or worse competition because I don't really know. I don't know what the Eastern Asian MMA scene is like out there. What are your thoughts on the fight?
So first, did a little bit of research on the name there while you were talking there. It does seem like it is Baljan, and it's not.
So I was on the right track the first time.
Yes, because I was looking on ESPN as well, and it says it's a Bear Gang as well. And
what the fuck? Which I'm sure is the wrong pronunciation. Like, there's no way it's that.
Well, I was thinking just by chance, maybe the ER is the L, and I have honestly no idea. No idea where they were going with that. But no, again, align with you completely. I think Yu is the better grappler of the two. I think it could be a fun fight where Yu potentially finds a finish on the mat, but I think there could be a lot of stalling as well.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think Genizuli has like that much finishing upside. Like I know he's pounded a few guys out with ground and pound, but like his jiu-jitsu looks pretty terrible to me, to be honest. And I don't think I don't even say I don't think. I'd be shocked if he's posturing up and landing like big ground and pound shots against you. So
yep, agreed.
That's kind of probably the biggest swing for me in terms of like handicapping the fight. But yeah, I'll leave it with you here, Lags. Next fight, this is a low-key banger for as long as it lasts. We got Mingyang Zhang taking on Osman Diaz. Current price on Zhang, -325. Comeback on Diaz, +275. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, it is going to be a banger as long as it lasts. But I mean, I guess I'm going to go with the chalk here. I think Mingyang does find the KO one here, personally.
I'm like so torn on this fight because I feel
it's going to be a swinging fight, yeah.
Dude, yeah, like I feel like -325 can't be right. Like it just feels like,
especially to a guy who was just like plus. Was he like? No, he was a heavy favorite against.
No, not heavy though. He was like -140 against Ribeiro, I think, something like that. I mean, I do think Zhang's better. Like he's faster, he's bigger, he's a natural 205er, and Diaz has looked puffy to say the least at when he's fought at 205. But I don't know, man. Like Zhang's never won a fight past round one in his career. I think he's kind of easy to hit himself. And Glenbot just put it in the chat, like Ozzy 2-3. Like, dude, Diaz comes from a much higher level. Like, dude, he comes from like Northeast background. Like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's fought in CFFC a few times. Diaz is a fucking tough dude, man. Like, I don't think he's going to be easy to just roll through. And I think if this fight extends at all,
so John, slight correction on that.
LFA, okay.
Yep.
Really? I thought
LFA and Bellator.
Yeah. But either way, I do like his reasonable regional comp a bit better. Like he got basically knocked out by, or not basically, he got knocked out by Joe Pyfer, but like I think Joe Pyfer would fucking torch Zhang, to be honest. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like Zhang's got like 3 to 4 minutes to make his thing happen here, and he could. And like maybe that's an argument for to what Chad and Glenbot are saying. 2-3. I don't think that's a bad look. Maybe it's an argument to go live. I get that, but it's like it's gonna be a fucking swinging fight anyway, and Ozzy hits pretty hard. So it's like if we're like let's wait to go live on Diaz, and then it's like first exchange just checks him on the chin and puts him down. It's getting like, well, fuck me, Like the price is I guess what I'm saying is the price is approaching the point where it's like you almost have to play him pre just because the implied odds being like almost 25% is just kind of crazy to me. Like I agree with Zhang being the favorite. I think he probably knocks him out in round one about half the time. I just don't think he's got a ton of equity past it, and I think he can get knocked out in round one too. So yeah, I mean I lean Ozzy here. Moving on, we have a banger. I'm gonna throw it to you again here to start. We got Carlos Olberg taking on Volkan Oezdemir. This is what's worth being awake for. This is when you put down the Irish coffee, you make yourself a mimosa. If cocaine's your thing, you dabble in that. If weed's your thing, you dabble in that.
I will dabble in that.
Nicotine vape, you dabble in that. You know, this is when the shit really gets going here. What are your thoughts here, Lags? Current price is minus 240 Olberg, plus 205 is the comeback on Volkan.
Well, like you had just mentioned in the last fight, in this fight, undoubtedly, I would say the Volkan side is much better to bet live. I think after the first round, you're avoiding most of the danger. I think early in this fight, I think Olberg is going to be much faster. I think he's going to be able to manage distance very well here in this fight. And I think he potentially could hurt Volkan, put him out. I mean, I think it's a very interesting fight, but I do think the speed and the finishing upside for Carlos is pretty massive.
I really like Volkan here, to be honest.
All right.
All right. From the jump, honestly. I'm not saying he's going to own him from the jump. He's plus 200, right? I do favor Carlos, but I think there's a couple things here that are interesting. For one, look at the guys fucking Carlos' fought, man. Like, the Menafield win's a nice win, but it was a 10-second fight because Menafield just, bit the mouthpiece and sprinted at him. Like, fucking bizarre, to be honest. But we haven't seen anybody really have an easy time skirting the outside against Volkan, in part because he throws heavy calf kicks. You know, I don't think Olberg, he was able to easily outmaneuver Zhang, which at the time looked good, but we just saw Zhang fight that guy, Umar C from France, the grappler, who literally just did the same thing to him, you know? So, do you guys goes to decision? It's not crazy, honestly, but I don't really think so, just because so that's kind of my thing. I don't think it's going to be easy for Olberg to outmaneuver Volkan. I think he's going to have to throw with him in the pocket for a lot of this fight, even early. Johnny Walker is a pretty good outfighter, and Volkan crushed space against him pretty much right away. And I don't know. I think Volkan's a better pocket boxer than Olberg is. I think he hits harder than Olberg does. I think he's more durable than Olberg is. I will say the durability probably a bit of a.
I think it's pretty close.
We don't really know with Olberg, right? But he did get dropped once by Charant and hurt another time by him. He obviously got knocked out by Kennedy. Yep. And Zhang, every time Zhang got inside, he landed on him. So I'm looking at it and it's okay, well, yeah, Olberg's faster for sure. He's probably got more reliable volume. The Volkan's volume is pretty good. But he's probably, look at how many leg kicks Zhang landed, man. Volkan's going to get his leg kicks going, which means they're going to have to strike inside. And Olberg can definitely knock Volkan out. But the only two guys to ever drop Volkan in the UFC are Jiri and Kalaev. I don't think it's going to be that easy for him. I kind of think Volkan is just as likely to knock Olberg out as he is. I think of the two, Volkan is much more likely to have grappling success. I don't think he's likely to have that much grappling success, but he is the more likely of the two to have it. He's obviously fought the far higher level of competition. Olberg was so fucking tired at the end of the Zhang fight, a low-paced fight. He started wrestling himself just to get a break. I think Volkan's got a lot of edges in this fight. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
I have a unit and a half, and I'm a +2 at +211. I'm planning to add one more unit to him. I think this is, in my opinion, and again, I'm not saying it's a lock. I think it's a very close fight. That is my opinion because Olberg is longer, he is faster, but I just think Volkan has edges in a lot of spots here. I think it's close. I maybe slightly favor Olberg, but I'm gonna be pretty heavy on Volkan in this spot. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But last time Volkan Oezdemir fought in Eastern Asia, it was in Singapore against a man who plays the game that Carlos Olberg plays better than him, named Alexander Rakic. And what did he do in that fight, Lags? Can you tell the people?
He did win a decision.
He did win a decision. So I think it's Volkan season.
But yes.
Chad's saying it's Olberg season. Chad's full of shit.
Did not realize that was
in this
Chad.
case. Yeah. But I think it's Volkan season. We'll see what happens, but I like Volkan here quite a bit. Moving on, we have our boy Jake Fagan is in the chat, and he has been hyping up his lady all week on Twitter. We got Kong Wang. She's taking on Gabriela Fernandez. Kong Wang is -900. The comeback on Gabriela is +600. What do you think, Lax? Is this too wide? Will you take a stab at Gabriela Fernandez?
No, because I think she's awful. I'm gonna be honest. But on the flip side with Wang though, I think she has some grappling upside here. Like I think she has some sneaky grappling upside here. I think on the feet, I think she's a better striker of the two. I think it goes the distance though, so that's what's kind of tough here. Like I don't think she's that likely to finish her. I would rather go like a round 3 decision type of spot. I think she does have the better cardio of the two.
To me, it just really comes down to how proactive is Wang about grappling and how effective can she be with it. I don't think that. I mean, if she gets on top, she can be very effective because Gabriella's got fucking nothing off bottom. But I mean, Jasmine had a really hard time taking Gabriella down early in that fight. Like, I don't think it's going to be very easy for her to. I mean, Wang's better. Wang won a Muay Thai fight with Valentina Shevchenko back in the day. Like, she's obviously a very, very good prospect, very good striker. I do think minus 900 is fucking absurd, though. You know?
Yeah, I mean, what
are we doing?
She's not that good. She hasn't really fought that many good girls. I mean, yeah.
She's getting priced like she's Manon Fiore, you know? Like, that is literally like what the market is saying here, which maybe she is. Maybe she is. But, like, Gabriella is not a bad striker. And I'm not making an impassioned case to, like, bet Gabriella in this spot because I think Wang is better than her. I think Wang is going to win. I haven't even decided if I'm going to bet Gabriella, but I don't think my big issue with the price is really more that, like, I think you can break Gabriella both via grappling and via pace. We saw in her last fight with what's her name, the chick with 3 fights, boxing girl.
Carly Judas.
Who?
Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Judas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, wow, Valen saying Wang is definitely a better striker than Manon. If she is,
I mean,
that's a bold take. I really don't think so, but maybe. I mean, she is. She comes from a very high level Muay Thai background.
Yeah, we will see.
But like Gabriella, like Giudice, she took, I would say Giudice because that's the American way of saying it.
Giudice.
I don't know if she's Italian. She's probably too white to be Italian. So, although you're pale white like that, and you're Italian. So
yeah, but she's pale white, and she's definitely not Italian.
But like she pushed an insane pace. Like that chick walked through absolute fire to gas Fernandez out. I'm not expecting Wang to do that. I think she's going to technically kickbox with her, which I do think she is the better technical kickboxer for sure, in my opinion. But the question is, unless you think she's at like that Shevchenko level, can you really get to a minus 900 price with that? I don't really think so, to be honest. Am I going to bet Gabriella? Probably not. Like, I do think the Wang fade is going to materialize sooner than people think, but Gabriella's a bit wilty. If she gets taken down twice, she loses the fight. That's enough for me to really, like, I'm kind of done taking shots on these dogs that, like, have basically a mortal weakness that if it's exploited, they can't come back from. But I think she can win this. I mean, I shouldn't say, like, I think she will, but, like, if they kickbox for 15 minutes and have a low-volume kickboxing fight, she could definitely win that. I mean, do you disagree?
Well, John, I was just looking this up for you because I know you were talking about that passionate case for it going the distance and her winning a close fight. But Gabby Fernandez by split decision, 20-1.
That's actually, honestly, like, that is not bad. I actually like that a fair amount. I mean, I'm not going to put more than, like, $50 on it, you know, but, like, that's like a reasonable look, I think.
Yep. Her by decision is 9-1, just for reference there.
What's the Wang decision?
Minus 120.
Ugh, no.
Yeah.
No, that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's gross.
Yeah, GTD is like minus 150. So.
But all right, we move on. Muslim Salikov, Kanan Song, current price, Salikov minus 175. The comeback on Song plus 150. I would really like minus 160 on Salikov. I've been hoping people are going to buy Lou Betcha.
Yeah, I know, right? Could you imagine?
I'm glad to have Lou back in the chat. That is,
yes.
we are.
Hi, Lou.
We are winning right now.
Steelers country tonight, Lou. How about
it? I really would like. I mean, I might end up even taking a shot at minus 170 if it gets there.
What about the under there, John? How about that?
What, in this fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one shot. I just feel like it's a great opportunity to kind of fade Kanan Song off, like, you know, what is an abysmal win. Like, Ricky Glenn's corpse, who also hurt him in that fight and, like, got some work done. Like, dude, when I was looking into this fight, Rolando, let me just read you. Just I'm gonna read you the wins of Kenan Song in his career. This is a man with like 10 UFC fights, mind you. Bobby Nash in his last fight in the UFC. Hector Aldana, not in the UFC. Derek Krantz, not in the UFC. Kalen Potter, not in the UFC. Rolando Bedoya hasn't won a fight in the UFC yet, but still in the UFC. Ricky Glenn, no longer in the UFC. It's fucking fugly, man. And the reason is like, look, Song's got decent boxing. He's got power. Yeah, he could knock Salikov out, but he's low volume. He's very plotty. He's very easy to avoid. He's very easy to out volume. He's very, very hittable. The guy's just not very good. I mean, he almost beat Ian Gary because he landed one big power shot. He could do that here. But in my opinion, even at 40 years old, Muslim Salikov's a much better fighter. Much better defensively, still much faster, much better technically, much better movement, much better grappler. In my opinion, more finishing upside. The big concern is he's 40 years old and the guy's gas tank is shit. But even if he gets tired, Song is not going to step on the gas. Do you know what I mean?
It's just so.
Those are big concerns. They're big concerns. But like, I'm tempted to bet him here. What do you think?
I don't disagree from your take here completely because again, I like Muslim in the spot as well, but like the cardio concerns are a very big concern for me in the spot. If it goes long, again, his gas tank has looked pretty awful lately.
Yeah.
But to me, like, I don't see why this fight could look any different than the Fiallo fight that he had.
That's what I was literally about to say that to you. It's like, is Kenan Song better than Andre Fiallo?
Right, because to me, Fiallo and Song. No, hold on. Because to me, Fiallo and Song is a pick 'em fight. So
yes, yeah. I agree completely.
Yep.
We made some good bags off fading Andre Fiallo. That was a nice little stretch.
And how about let me look at where he's at in this. Wow.
He's probably. I know he's
on a fight. Wow, five fight KO loss streak right now.
Yeah, that's saying good spot for a song. Yeah,
Ooh.
dude. I do not agree. But I mean, the market's saying it's a competitive fight, so I mean, we'll see. I am partial to Salikov here, though. I'm with you, Lags. I think Song is about the tier of fighter Fiallo is. I think Song could knock him out, but short of that, I think he's badly outclassed, personally.
I guess the only thing. Go ahead.
I was just saying he's so susceptible to leg kicks, and Salikov can throw them pretty hard. We saw him doing it to Brown before he got KO'd in that fight.
I guess the only other thing I was going to add there was, I mean, not to sell Song short, comparing him to Fiallo, but like he's got more durability than Fiallo. Like he is. Yeah, Fiallo to me, I mean, awful. I mean, that's another thing that I guess I would struggle with, like with Salikov at like again -175, -180. Like, does he have that much finishing upside here? Don't get me wrong, he has more finishing upside of the two, but is he that likely to finish?
Yeah. Who, Song or Salikov?
No, Salikov.
Dude, it's kind of weird because I feel like he shows up with like varying levels of power fight to fight. It's like I think we bet Trinaldo against him, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like he's like literally grappling him. Trinaldo looked like he's in cement. Like it was.
Yep.
Yeah, I do lean Salikov here, and like if the line comes in like 10 cents, I'm gonna bet it. So we will see. Moving on, co-main event. We got Baby Shark taking on Yan Xiaonan. Current price, Xiaonan -190. The comeback on Baby Shark +165. What are your thoughts?
Well, John, I'm going to start off by saying I don't have a bet on the fight, but I will definitely make a shot bet with you because I'm almost undoubtedly believing that you're going to be on the Ricci side.
I am on the Ricci side.
Yes. And now, not that I'm passionately on the Yan Xiaonan side, but to me, I think Ricci's volume on the feet, while she can compete in this matchup, I think it's a lot of empty volume. Her strikes are not very damaging.
She sucks at striking.
Right. And in terms of the grappling, I don't think she has great top control. I don't think her wrestling is that great. I don't think don't get me wrong, Yan Xiaonan hasn't, improved her defensive grappling by any means. I mean, I laid the heavy chalk with Weili Zhang in her last fight.
Which was a great bet.
When she did end up getting tired, it got a little sweaty there by in the middle of
dude, I bet Weili live in like the middle of round 3 at like Pick'em. That was not sweaty. That was one of the
that was generous. That's generous. I was to say that was generous that they put it all the way down to Pick'em.
It was generational wealth is what it was.
Yeah, right.
It was ridiculous.
But more often than not, I think Yan probably just wins a very close decision here.
Okay, so I'll take the shot bet with you. It's 1.7 ounces you got to do if you lose.
I'll do 2. Yeah, 2 shots.
One of these days, lags, where we have a fight that like we're very passionate about and like we're on opposite sides of, we're gonna have to do like an Everclear shot bet. Really, just try to
Jeez.
like fuck the other person up like
All
before
right.
before
Or
we
like,
go.
oh, how about I was gonna say, how about what we should do is just a full four loco
Oh
before
no,
the I say
dude,
before for the whole pod.
this is probably before your time. And I realize we're live, so I'll keep it
Yes.
short. But like, I don't know. You definitely weren't old enough when Four Locos had caffeine in them.
No.
That shit was. All I'm gonna say is it was like at the point, like I was in college, like when that happened, and like a couple people died from drinking too many of them. Not in my college,
Yes.
but just in general. That's why they banned them. You drank one of those before, like you went out, and you were like fucking cocked, man, like unwell.
Yeah.
Like you were unwell. You were like not a functional person.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm the age. I mean, I'm 28 now, but I was in the age at Penn State. We were literally learning about this. I mean, not many people know I am a food science major, and most people. I mean, we learned about that in some of our nutritional classes, and it was like, holy shit, what these people were taking, and what some of these companies were putting in them, faking it, food additives. It's insane.
Keep that like you're mixing out with like the uppers that college kids are taking, like that's just a recipe for death. Who is up on the shop bets? I feel like
I
you
don't
are.
know.
I feel like you are.
I feel like I might be up slightly because more often than not, I am taking the chalk side, and it just again, it's been a chalk year.
My fireball from like the last time I bought it is almost gone. The flask I got of it, so I think that's probably a sign that I'm looking at it on my desk right now. But anyway, this fight, yeah, I'm on Ricci. I think it's a high uncertainty fight. That's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, I think we all know if Ricci can't get this either to the fence or the floor, I mean, she's fucked. Like
Yeah.
the difference in striking ability is just. It's massive, like obviously I bet Loopy Gadenia is pretty big against Ricci, but like with Loopy,
and that ended up being a close fight too. Crazy enough.
Yeah, the judges love Tabitha.
Well, yeah,
understandably, but they do. But like, I was in that fight. I was like basically 100% certain she was not going to get takedowns, and if she did, she wouldn't hold her there, and she wouldn't hold her on the fence because Loopy is an excellent wrestler and an excellent defensive grappler. With Jan, I don't really see why Ricci can't get her to the fence if she wants to, Claudia Gadeja at the end of her career was dead gassed out in round 3 and easily cutting Jan off and putting her on the fence. It's kind of been the story of her career, women who have wanted to take her down have taken her down. Now, I will give her a bit of a break there because it's like, yeah, Zhang Weili's not a great wrestler, but she's a physical powerhouse. And like Carla Esparza, the market hates her, but I like full send Carla there against Jan because Carla is like the best wrestler of her generation. Literally. I did know Dern took down Loopy. Yeah, I bet Dern against Loopy too. But like Ricci's nowhere near the level of either of those women as a wrestler, but she's very proactive about it. She's very strong, in my opinion. Tisha is a tougher woman to corral in my opinion than Jan is, and you kind of even saw that against Carla. Carla had a hard time keeping Tisha on the fence, and Ricci pinned her there. And so I look at it, it's like, yeah, maybe she can't get her down, and she just gets outstruck. Maybe she can't get her down, and she pins Jan to the fence for a long stretch of this fight. And it's a very close fight. And then it's like maybe she can get her down, and if she gets her down, she's going to absolutely fuck her up on bottom here. Like I can't understate how bad Jan is on bottom. It's just like it's awful. She's a horrible grappler when she gets grounded. So yeah, I don't know if she'll get her down or not. But what I do know is that she's got great cardio. She's gonna attempt 8 to 10 takedowns. She can almost certainly hold Jan on the fence. She just won a decision against Angela Hill, where a lot of that came from clinch striking. Angela Hill is a better clinch striker than Yan Jianan is. So, yeah, I mean, maybe Yan knocks her out, although she only has 1 KO in the UFC, so I doubt it. Maybe she wins it off big shots and damage, but I think it's a close fight. Look, Jan's gap on the feet is as big as the gap is on the ground for Tabitha. Tabitha knows what she's good at, though, and she's got high IQ. She's going to try to push this into the clinch. I think it plays out close to 50-50. That's kind of my view on the fight, is it's basically pick 'em. Also, the age thing. Jan's 35. I don't know how many people realize that. Tabitha's a lot younger than her. She's obviously still improving. Jan's coming off a loss in the title fight. That rarely goes well. The next fight after it. Yeah, I just think Tabitha's angle is pointing up, and I think Jan has a very exploitable skill set that we've seen get exploited. To be honest, it kind of reminds me of Tabitha's not as good a wrestler as Verna is, but it reminds me a bit of Verna Marina, where like Marina was like minus 200 in that fight, even though everybody knew Marina can't do shit off her back. That's basically the case here. So it's like the question is, you have to have a lot of fucking faith in a terrible wrestler who's terrible on bottom to not get taken down and held on bottom here, to say that the minus 200 is right, in my opinion. And maybe it is, but lines are based off uncertainty, and I think the line is underselling the upside Ricci has here. So yeah, I have 2 units on Ricci plus 165. And having said that, we'll move to the main event. Banger here. Peter Yan's finally going to do the deed and put Figgy down for good. He's minus 310. The comeback on Figgy is plus 260. I have some early on prices. I think he's going to absolutely fucking kill Figgy here. There's not really... Actually, here's my analysis. Since Figgy moved up to 135 pounds, he won the Rob Font fight via basically Rob Font having no chin anymore and getting wobbled a couple times. Cody Garbrandt easily outstruck him at distance. Then he took him down. Turns out Cody, great takedown defense once he's grounded. Not much there. And then he fought Marlon Vera. And he needed to jank being like the first person to ever knock Marlon Vera down and win that fight. Dude got outstruck at distance by Marlon Vera. Basically, no one gets outstruck at distance by Marlon Vera. Now he's fighting on Peter Yan, prime of his career, real bantamweight, great cardio, great work rate, great counter grappler. I look at the fight, and maybe it's obvious, and the line's saying that, and I agree with the line, to be honest. But I don't think Yan has much or Figuereido has much grappling upside. Maybe he gets a takedown or two, but I can't see him controlling Yan. And I know Aljo got Jan's back twice, but like Aljo would literally do horrendous things to Deiveson Figuereido grappling. Like it's just not even a little close. I think Deiveson could have some moments early, but like once Yan gets going and making his reads and the pressure starts coming, I don't really think Deiveson can stand up to it. I actually unironically think the best path for Deiveson Figuereido to winning this fight, Yan does wrestle from time to time, and we know Figgy's got a great guillotine. I think him subbing Yan, making a wrestling mistake, is probably his best path to victory here, because I don't think he's going to be able to hurt. Yeah, maybe he'll hurt him once. I doubt it though. I think he's going to have a hard time hurting Yan. I think Yan hits harder than he does. Yeah, I just think Jan's basically better everywhere. I think the line's right. I think look at Yan late props. I actually kind of like the under at plus 140. I know Figgy went the distance a couple times with Brandon Moreno in high-paced fights, but like Moreno wobbled him in a lot of those fights, and this is just a different level of power coming back. Plus, it's a decent hedge against Yan doing something stupid and getting subbed. But yeah, I think this is. I think Peter Yan is going to assault Deiveson Figuereido. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think this should be a very easy matchup for Yan. I mean, on the feet, much more volume than Yan. To your point, I think he's probably the bigger hitter as well. Again, bigger. I think he definitely has grappling upside of the matchup. The only thing I'd be looking to play in the fight would be the 4-5 decision for Yan. It's like minus 125. Not a bad look. But other than that, I'm looking to pass here. I think the line's more or less fine. I think Yan is a big favorite. It's fine. Figgy in 5-round fights just against a guy who actually can push a high pace. I mean, again, like we talked about with the Moreno fight, those were close fights and this and that, but
some of them were close.
The
last fight wasn't that close, and the second fight was rubbing. I mean, it is, and like that's my point. Like Yan is like, I love Brandon Moreno. We bet him like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Yan is a better version of Brandon Moreno. He's harder to hit. He's more relentless, and he hits a lot harder than Brandon Moreno does. So that's my view. We'll see what happens. But guys, like, good luck on your bets this weekend. Drop us a like, subscribe if you haven't. Follow me on Twitter, MMA Fox. Follow Lags at Danny_Lags. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I will be online, hopefully.
I hopefully will be. Hopefully I'll have video quality next week.
I'll put write-ups up on Friday. But yeah, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. And thank you for bearing with us. I was shot to shit last night. So was Lags. So we pushed it back. Figured with this card, not that many people would care. But yeah, drop a like, subscribe. Good luck on your bets this weekend, unless you're fading us.
Yep.
But good luck anyway.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. Peace.